Well, hello, everyone. This is the first recording of our conversations of human versus human. Our endeavor here is to see what happens when we put humans in the same box and have a good conversation. Um, our goal, our hope is that we will find that we are able to build more bridges between each other than to form walls and things that come up so easily. And so we'd like to have a kind of interesting topic and just kind of kick it around. And we're eager for our community to grow and to be more diverse and have great conversations and just see what happens. So our topic today is intentionally kind of an odd one to get us thinking and just to kind of kick around the topic and see what it means for humanity. We have a series of topics that are all kind of humans in different containers. So today we're going to start with humans in circuits. And just see, circuit is kind of a container. We'll pretend it is. We'll imagine, what it's like, what that could be, what kind of images that conjures up in our minds, and from our stories, from our human experiences, how we can relate on that. Maybe we should each kind of introduce ourselves and what kind of drew us into this conversation. So, Michael, how about you start us off?
Of course. Thank you so much, Drew. Yes, welcome. My name is Michael Keating. I am 100% human. Yes, that's me. I'm originally from Ireland, but I've lived my life mostly outside that country, a beautiful country in different places like the United States, Korea, Austria, and Germany most of my life. So I just wanted to say, yes, I'm part of this diverse community. Even in my own existence here in Germany, of course, I am a diverse human in terms of a foreigner living here. Yes, ich spreche Deutsch. And I'm looking forward to having a discussion, all things human. So Drew and I have known each other for a while, and we've had this idea, and we want to get it out there so we can have some perspective and some discussions. And my good friend Seamus Power from Ireland is joining us as well. So Seamus, over to you.
Yeah, great to catch up, guys. And yeah, it's been wonderful to begin to uncover and get underneath. And I love that word intention you kicked off with, Drew, because that for me has drawn me into this conversation. And I just love the way you've described that as well, because it's come up again and again and again lately, that word intention. And it's been a big part of my own experience. I've worked in the corporate world in customer services in the IT industry for many, many years. I'm based in Dublin in Ireland, but fell into a global directorship role for a large US IT company, and got to travel and not necessarily live, but got to travel and experience many different places. So I just love the diversity of the people I've met on that journey. And a good part of the journey, going back to your topic today, actually, was, brought to mind very clearly, very quickly, humans in circuits, was connection. And the connection is the first word that comes to mind when you talk about humans in circuits. And that for me is a part of being connected externally on the outside, which I very much was focused on as my overall connection with life was very much externally focused. But it's only in the last couple of years where I've really begun to take a more focused and intentional view, to use that word again, on the inside. And that for me is maybe humans in circuits is coming up for me about connection on the outside and the bigger circuit. But we also have a circuit on the inside, which I'm really, really spending a lot more time exploring about the power of that circuit. And then the blend of those circuits and how they kind of connect together, I guess. So it's a lovely topic. And yeah, that's just a little bit about me, and I'm looking forward to the conversation.
Well, fantastic. Yeah, I look forward to getting rolling. I guess I should say a little bit about myself. I'm Drew Shockley. My company is, well, I guess I'm doing the corporate thing already, saying what my company is right away, but my company is called Action Alliance. But I should start by saying, yeah, I'm a constant explorer. I love exploring humanity and cultures and geography, and things like that. With my business Call to Action Alliance, it's been website design and that kind of thing, but I've loved exploring businesses and what kind of makes them tick and the passions that are involved there. In my title, I put the 100-year itch, because that's kind of a new perspective I'm kind of experimenting with going forward. Is just like, how can I help entrepreneurs and enterprises make such a positive splash in the next few years that 100 years from now, the positivity is still rippling out. And so with that, this is an interesting topic for me. I will kind of throw one piece of it in there, but which I'll just put it out there, but we might swing right back to Seamus and what you were saying, because you were kind of really, I loved what you were talking about with connections and that kind of thing. This new phenomenon of AI, artificial intelligence, has really grasped me recently, and just thinking, what is that going to do for humanity? And there's a lot of concern out there that, it could be taking away jobs. It could be too much, could be moving towards machines. And then what does that mean? And what does that say for the creativity and things that, it's quite a subject to broach, but that's kind of where my mind kind of is starting to explore that. What does that mean that automation will start kind of helping us, or will it be dictating it, or how can we use it as a tool? So anyway, that's kind of the center of my mind, as I'm curious of hearing other opinions and how that could, what impact that could be. But maybe I'll kick it back over you to Seamus to kind of pick up where you left off, or Michael, if you want to jump in.
Yeah, I was just thinking as you were talking about, AI being sort of a new technology, but in reality it's not that new. I mean, we've been using AI all the time. If we think about our cars, when we drive our cars now, they're all electronically programmed so that we get little signals when we're backing up and all this kind of stuff. That's all AI. Yeah, I think we're freaking out because what we have with ChatGPT and stuff like that is showing the power of a machine doing simple tasks, which kind of humans do at the moment, which I would say, why should the humans do them then? We are not actually, let's say, made for just doing simple tasks. We have an incredible brain. Yeah. And I would say perhaps this could be a revolution in terms of how humans could be actually using more of what they're usually and uniquely created for by having AI. Yeah. So I'm more in the field of, I think there's lots of positives that could happen, but the question is about the how. Yeah. The big how. How do we roll this out that it doesn't traumatize our world? And of course, our world is driven by business and corporate and all those lovely things. So we all have these jobs that we do. But I think, it's going to disrupt for sure. It's a disruptor. But if we look at maybe the technologies we've had in the past, how much more can it be a disruptor than, say, for example, our smartphones, this lovely bloody thing right here, which, we didn't have 15 years ago. So I think, people panic, of course, as always, and this is the issue of being human. The fears and the negativity come pretty quickly because we have our reptile brain thinking, oh shit, my God, we might not have a job anymore. How can I feed my family? How can I feed myself? So I think that's sort of, the circuitry of our brain. So I was just thinking about this aspect about how our brain is programmed, and which we don't know at all. We're getting more and more, let's say, knowledge about how our brain actually works with neuroplasticity and how it actually can bend, and it can really, we should be actually putting our brain under way more conditions to learn things like when we were a child. Because if you look at how children learn, they have to learn new things all the time. And unfortunately, that stops for most of us when we kind of get to school, and then even after we leave school. Yeah, because we live in a construct of a world in business, usually, which has a certain rhythm and all of that. but that's changing as well. So I think it's exciting times. Seamus, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I love that. And you're triggering so much here. And again, AI for me, maybe intelligence is a bit of a misnomer. And it's kind of information integration or quasi intelligence, maybe I would call it, because it's that machine, it's the integration of our data processing machine that is creating, and making sense of this information. So we've all this diverse information out there. And basically what that AI model or machine is doing is grasping all that information from these different sources, banging it all together and throwing out, something to make sense of, somewhat maybe like a human brain does, but I think in a very fundamental, rudimentary way. And I think for me, it's human discernment is the opportunity here. You touched on it, Michael, that we have all this information out there that we can actually now use AI to be the integrator, but we still have that human element where you get the opportunity from the human perspective to be able to use the diversity of a human brain or human intelligence versus the artificial intelligence or quasi-intelligence to be able to make sense of that information. So it's going to pour its interpretation of what it's found from all this kind of blend of all these different sources and then throw that back to the human. And then it's up to the human through their own innate intelligence to be able to actually make sense of that through connection, through being able to actually process and make sense of that information that this machine has provided and has spat out at the human. And that for me maybe is the great hope for how we blend the AI information and with human intelligence, basically. So I think AI doesn't have heart, it doesn't have feelings, or it doesn't have discernment, really. It has an algorithm that is it's AI discernment. But really true human discernment is what Michael had just spoken to about, is this brain, this human ability we have to process, to think, to feel, to create, to grow, to connect, to extend. And I think that's the opportunity when I think of circuits as well, going back to the theme, it's the very limited ability of AI in some ways, even though there's a lot of fear around it. It can be blended, I think, with that human discernment of the human making sense of this deed and be able to challenge and really interpret better this integrated set of data that's coming at us from, a broad set of basically limitless amount of data in our databases, through the internet and through that channel of overwhelm, I guess, that's coming at us from, so many sources these days. So that's just a nitty what I'm thinking. I think there's still great space for the human to be a core part of making sense of all this stuff that's coming at us,
I
So what are you
agree.
thinking?
Yeah, I'm thinking, well, I think we all probably share that hope, but I want to explore the fear that's out
Mhm.
there because that's very real. There's a lot of real fear, and maybe it comes from the reptile brain or that kind of thing. But
Yeah.
what is it that's causing so much fear?
Uncertainty, I think, Drew. I think people don't know or don't understand. That's probably the first thing that this. I think people are beginning to. Some of the language being used is very, like scary, like in terms of the loss of control, or AI is going to take over, and we're all going to be, like in some of the movies we've seen, like these dystopian type of future, that it's going to be a world that's managed by robots and information, and we're going to be trapped within our society somehow from this overwhelming, and I think that's overwhelming sense of information that's been going to be around us, and that is going to be information that is going to be created that we somehow as humans lose control of, and that it's going to limit our ability to live free lives, maybe, and I think that's part of maybe the fear that's coming, is that the sense of loss of control or loss of freedom, perhaps even, around our ability to live the type of free lives we may wish to live as humans. Maybe that's an element of it. That's what I'm sensing for many people, is just uncertainty, maybe,
Yeah. I think one thing you might want to think about is the source of where people are getting their fear. If I say that most people they're seeing these maybe social media posts, etc. Yeah, dare I even say it, media in general. Yeah, sort of
Mhm.
scaremongering. Yeah,
Sure.
to get a conversation going and to generate some sort of yeah. I'm not too sure why they're doing that. Maybe it's just,
Well,
hip to do that to kind of drive people into a frenzy of fear. Um, because I think if you actually look at the technology, and even I see someone who actually asked ChatGPT to ask about this exact issue, and
mm,
ChatGPT came back and said, yes, the human race is perhaps maybe a little bit fearful about the possible consequences of an AI, but I believe this is unfounded. The machine itself said, based on all they have in terms of data everywhere in the system, they see the fear being unfounded. But of course, we're humans and we perceive things very quickly because due to our circuitry of our brains and the reptile brain, which drives quite a bit of our behavior and our chemicals in our own sense of being. So it's like even the machine tells us, guys, this is a little bit off, but you're human, so we understand.
mhm.
Because I
Do
don't think we're ever going to get
either
away
of
from
you
fear.
remember
Yeah.
the hierarchy of needs? I
Yes, I
forget.
do
I,
indeed.
I
Maslow,
forget
yeah.
who was it? As
Maslow.
Maslow. That's right,
Maslow
Maslow.
was the guy's name.
And I don't remember. Do you remember specifically what they were? Because I bet
Yeah.
there might be a specific threat to some of those
Okay, well,
hierarchies.
food, shelter, yeah. It's in two of them, that you have basically the necessities to survive, if I use it like that. Yeah.
And I
Um,
guess those could be threatened if someone is fearful of losing their job or that kind of thing.
but
That might
okay, is
might.
that a rational thought? Because I mean, isn't there going to be other jobs that may be created by freeing up people from actually just doing mundane, dumb tasks? And I always
Hmm.
like to take an
Hmm.
example of something like, let's take a physical example of somebody who's like a debitor in a company, all they're doing is moving numbers around in an Excel sheet. I know I shouldn't be saying it like that because the debitors will probably kill me now, but in general, that's what they're doing. Yeah. And they're checking numbers with numbers and they're doing this and they're doing this. A computer can do this 100 times better.
Hmm. Hmm.
Yeah. It can identify mistakes way better. Okay. So that means you could free up this debitor time to do something else. Yes. He or she could be doing another form of work that just isn't about having numerical rationale reasoning, that power, that superpower that they have, because that's why they do these jobs, they could take that and use it in something else.
Hmm.
So it's a redirection, a reskilling that needs to happen in the world. But of course, that's scary for people.
Yeah.
But if you think about all these different things that happen, I go back to like a classic example. There used to be horses, lots of horses, and there was a whole industry around all the care of horses. But then the car came, you know, and people didn't believe in
Hmm.
it. And William, whatever the third here in Germany said, "Oh, it won't work. It's a fad." Blah blah blah. We'll always have horses. Well, where are we today? All those people who used to be in that industry, they got new jobs. So
So
there's a
there is
redefining.
yeah, there's some
Yeah.
threat there, but yeah, they don't need to. There doesn't need to be the fear there. What's another one of those hierarchy? What else is in the hierarchy of
The
needs? It's
social connection is further up. So there's the
Social connection,
physiological
exactly.
needs and
Yeah.
social connection. So your ability, and maybe that is a threat as well, because people feel, especially in this new modern world, especially post COVID, probably even, where we're separated from that physical human connection. It's much easier to be able to work, like we're just having this conversation right now remotely. So we're connecting as humans, but not in a physical same space. And I think that's becoming more prevalent. And maybe that's a fear, perhaps, that people are feeling as well, in that, as AI is created, we're virtual as humans, but the human won't even be involved anymore. It's the machines are going to be controlling the whole, maybe elements of that are currently managed through personal connection. So maybe there's something there to be explored as well in, where that fear and that threat is coming from,
Although one of the key ones is love and belonging, yeah, which is kind of a similar one, yeah, to what you're talking about, social. Maybe we could actually free up more time from people to have that more in their lives. Because if you think about the working lives of most people are working at least 32 hours, maybe more, yeah, a week, 40, 50, yeah. That doesn't leave too much time to, actually be doing that on a level which you want to be doing that, yeah. Yes, you might have some sort of belonging in a company if you have good colleagues and a boss, etc. Maybe not. You probably don't have love, well, whatever you want to term that as love. But I don't know, it could free up a whole different kind of way of being, yeah, if we actually had that kind of context and environment.
That kind of reminds me of the argument as well when, we had a lot of automation, a lot of technology coming on, and a lot of the manual labor was shifted into automation. There was going to be all this free time that people were going to have available. And it kind of never happened because it ended up actually being the opposite effect. People actually got busier and they were more productive and they were spent more time working. So rather than actually, having all this leisure time and allowing the automation to do the work through technology advances and so on, we found ourselves, doing 10 times the work and doing 10 times the hours as well. So we're 100 times, more productive. So it went the opposite way that people expected. It wasn't like that, okay, we'll now let, our automated processes and technology really manage a lot of the jobs that we had to do manually before. So that's a counter argument, I guess, to Michael, what you just shared there, because I think people will fill their time, once the automation and AI fills that gap of maybe doing a lot of what is currently managed in a human manual way. Humans may figure out, well, I don't want all this leisure time. It's back to choice, actually, which is an interesting word we're going to be talking about later on in our week as well later on.
Yeah, but I would challenge you there and say, I would say the system doesn't allow you to maybe shape what that could be. In other sense, as the triangle goes up, the next one is esteem. Yeah, so this feeling of having accomplished something with your life. Yeah, at the moment, it's a job. So most people get their accomplishment by doing a job, whatever that job is, yeah, and earning some money or not, maybe some money, a lot of money, it doesn't, yeah, that variable, of course, will then change, yeah, because their feeling of accomplishment may be something that they're actually uniquely doing, yeah, and so they would actually reach the pinnacle of Maslow, which is, as you know, self-actualization. Who has self-actualization today? Not many humans in the 8 billion people we have, I would say, which is, really you achieve your full potential of who you truly are, with creative activities being a very core part of that. I don't know, I would look at my job I'm currently doing at the moment. Is it very creative? Yeah, maybe 10-15%. That means I'm wasting about 80% of my time with kind of work that could be done some days with a computer. Yeah.
But the challenge is AI going to open that door? I mean, this is the question, I think, who knows?
Yeah, maybe,
I would hope to say, I think so.
Yeah. Well, hopefully AI, my hope is that it could create that freedom that, yeah, we have to choose what we're going to fill that time with, but hopefully we fill it with things that are more meaningful. I like the word significance, that we have significance. AI, I think, can feel like a threat to significance if we're thinking like, oh, humans are just going to be reduced to circuits. It's just all chemistry and logic and all that. That's all humanity is, and we're going to be replaced by machines of some sort. That can feel like a threat to our very significance in the world, but I hope it gives us opportunity to really reflect and embrace what humanity is all about and what makes the human race so special, and that we can thrive, and that civilization gave us freedom where, when people became civilized, they didn't have to worry about every damn thing in life. Other people would take care of certain things, and in a civilized society, you could focus on some things and not worry about where all the sewage is going to go. There's a system, or there's people that take care of that. You don't have to worry as much about your health. You don't have to worry as, and that's given us, I have heard it that maybe this period with AI kind of coming more to the forefront might become another renaissance. Let's see, in Renaissance, there is that combination of letters AI in there, which is kind of interesting. And so maybe it will be another renaissance where we can embrace creativity and relationships and fight the urge to be constantly looking at our phone, but maybe do something much more meaningful. So
yeah, just on the whole terminology around circuits. I mean, so a big part of many circuits is the feedback loop. And, that when you're thinking about their control. So I mean, that for me probably is maybe something that we have built into the AI is how it's applied, and how in the real world we have those safety systems or feedback loops in place as a control mechanism. And I'm going to use that word like carefully, control, because it's, we all like to feel we're in control, but sometimes, there's a fine balance between allowing some sense of AI, which is kind of feels out of control, but allowing that to emerge and happen. But to have safety systems placed through a circuit, through a feedback loop that allows it, to us to apply AI in whatever domain we're going to apply it in, that will emerge over time as it develops, Chat GPT or wherever it goes. But at the same time, to have an ability to be able to manage the applications, and we'll be able to kind of, okay, so, we check in where that application is working up to a point, and then we say, okay, this actually isn't working this way as we thought it would work, and we have the ability to be able to refine and tweak and tune through a feedback loop. I think that probably is an important consideration in how we apply, like any new technology. Yeah, again, if there's that fear factor in the beginning, it's allowing it to emerge up to a point before it can actually tweak and tune in an ongoing way through a feedback loop. I think, going back to your, like the circuits analogy, that's probably an important factor to consider, how you build in those feedback loops as, AI emerges or any other technology emerges,
Yeah.
I think seems to be two things there. There might be feedback loops that are built into the system, and being aware of what those are. And the other is what feedback loops we kind of create ourselves, and are they healthy feedback loops? Or, I mean, it might be part of just naturally how we exist, is that, well, we make a lot of our decisions based on our past and our experience, but I don't know if that could be kind of a feedback loop where we're constantly looking back to make future decisions based on, past experiences. There might be better ways to describe what a personal feedback loop might be, but any thoughts in either of those regards, whether it's the feedback loops that are imposed on us or that pre-exist, or those that we're in control of?
What I'm immediately thinking about is our internal mechanisms, like the internal engine we've got within ourselves, like our energetic radars or our temperature checks of around what feels right. And going back to, a human has inherent ability to feel and have those emotions that AI doesn't necessarily have. And that's back to like discernment. So that for me is probably an individual example of an individual feedback loop, where you're trusting your own innate ability as a human to be able to make sense of the data that you're being fed out of the AI engine, for example. So maybe that's just an example where you're trusting your inner gut, your inner connection to yourself, rather than where I could see where my feedback loop before would have been very much around like quarterly profits and financials and all that external stuff. But where you're looking at more human aspect of that feedback loop of really feeling and sensing and knowing, well, what is it that feels right? And this is what like Joseph Jaworski wrote about in his book Source, of enabling us to allow our environment to emerge and to enable us to check in on that through our own innate ability to know that sense of right from wrong. And like David Humphreys wrote a book called Force versus Power, and it kind of reminds me of that ability as well to actually, a lot of the world is force, but the real power is our ability to be able to actually be discerning around whatever information is coming from our environment around us. And again, that's what coming to mind as well, that we really, really begin to trust more that sense of that inner knowing, that inner connection. And that maybe is a challenge in the current environment where we're living, in that, how we've created the systems in our world where it's very much externally driven, rather than having that internal sense of connection, I suppose. Come back to circles again, a connection to the inner knowing, and harnessing that. And again, that's maybe what's termed a soft skill right now, that maybe a lot of people may not feel that they've got a sense of connection to or know how that works. But I think that is an opportunity in itself to enable that, to develop that feedback loop of that internal connection rather than the external control feedback loop that maybe many people, including myself, have got used to living in our lived experience. And I think the opportunity maybe is to harness and begin to develop that deeper inner knowing sense of what feels right, and use that again as the kind of if you want to use that term, feedback loop, to check in on, this is going in the right direction, or maybe this is something that needs a bit of tweaking and tuning, and that we can align with other people as part of that process. But again, that's very vague and tenuous maybe in the current discussion, but that's just maybe where I see the conversation going, is to be able to develop that inner sense of connection, that inner sense of power we all have within us, that David Humphrey spoke about. And that's where the really true power is coming from, is that the ability to harness that internal sense or discernment that we all have within us, that maybe many people have forgotten how to utilize and harness, I suppose,
How do you think, Seamus, we can develop that more? That what you're talking about is like the inner circuitry, yeah?
Yeah,
Because we're talking about
exactly
circuits, right?
that.
And
Yeah,
it's like
exactly that.
rewiring, rebraining, you're talking about tuning in.
Yeah.
What does that mean for you?
Slowing, first of all. And again, like I've
Breath?
used HeartMath personally, and
Yeah.
that for me is the ability to slow down the external, outside focus and view, and the reaction. We have there to a lot of stuff that's outside, and it goes back to maybe the overwhelm we talked about earlier of AI, and the fire hose of information that's coming at us, and we're just overwhelmed, and we're reacting all the time out here, and we've kind of lost this connection here to be discerning. We just get kind of swept away as individual humans. And I think there's great power in allowing ourselves, through breath, for example, that first small micro step of, okay, yeah, that's opening a little bit of a door. That felt good. Let's spend a bit more time there, and more time and more time, as a mechanism to kind of really connect to the inner circuitry and kind of balance between the external circuitry of that overwhelm, kind of that we're talking about as well,
Yeah, so what you're saying is breath as a form of reprogramming the circuitry.
Yeah, you could say that, exactly, or at least opening the door. Yeah.
Yeah, but if you do it long enough and do it, as you said, with enough kind of concentration, yeah, you can kind of reprogram things, right?
Yeah, and experience. It's back to the word experience. Oh, okay. That's what it feels like to be, that light bulb moment of, I've given myself a chance to kind of engage, is my word for 2023. So I've given myself a chance, an opportunity to disengage from all of this crap out here, and I've given myself a chance through breath, like as that physiological door opener. Basically, so you're slowing everything down, and coherence is a big word in HeartMath, for example. So
yeah.
Okay. And that opens the door to experiencing what it feels like. Back to get that counter AI language, this experience of feeling, which AI can't do. It can integrate, but it can't feel. And that for me is the opportunity maybe in AI to actually blend the integrated information from the fire hose that's coming at us, and use that as being able to actually put that into a garden hose, from the fire hose into a garden hose of information that we can actually process as humans, and then to be able to blend that with discernment. So maybe that's a way of describing, how, we blend and harness the internal ability of ourselves as humans to be able to process that information in a blended way. We talked about blended as well, Michael, before. So we're
Absolutely.
getting
It's my word
this
for
artificial,
2023.
yeah, exactly. To blend the quasi intelligence into the human intelligence, and that's that's really where the power is, I think, potentially.
Drew, what do you think about how to develop this inner circuitry? Or you think it's even good? I suppose is the question.
Well, the thought that I had, kind of aha type of thing, thinking about in with AI, a lot of it, to my understanding, which is very limited, it's based on the models that have been developed. And the model is a collection of data from all sorts of sources and things like that. So part of it would be aware of what has fed that model. But part of it, I love what you're saying, Seamus, about pausing and taking the breath, that we can be in control of our own model, that we can insert new data into that, even if it is that first step of taking a breath, taking a pause, and saying, and creating new experiences, that we can control that. The temptation naturally is that, yeah, we're being bombarded, and if we are thinking about machine circuitry, which probably machine circuitry is even slower than human circuitry of what's going on within our bodies right now, not just how quickly things are firing and that kind of thing, and are built on survival, but we have the opportunity to thrive on top of that. That's where my mind is going, as far as, yeah, we can be in control of feeding our, and in AI, a lot of the discussion, but some discussion is about depending on that model, but you can train your own model. In, if you're an artist, I've heard some good things from one photographer that, at first is very fearful that her profession is going away because AI would just be able to create all the imagery, going forward. But she is learning how to train her own model, her own base of data, with her own stuff, with her own photography. And so now she is able to create imagery a lot faster, but she says they are photos that are similar to what she would look for through a camera and try to snap and to capture. And so in that instant, she's figuring out how to feed the data, feed the model with what she values, with what she looks for. She's training it. So we have that opportunity. So I don't know, it's an interesting way to look at it. Anyway, am I going in a totally weird direction, or?
No,
I think it's actually, I think it's crazy weird in a way, but it's good weird. One thing that snapped into me when you were talking about machine learning and this whole aspect of this thing, we're human learning. I mean, we're doing that all the time, but we don't talk about it. Yeah, enough, in my opinion. Yeah, we're always talking about this technology of AI, machine learning, all this, but we as humans are learning. Yeah, constantly. Most of us, anyway. Yeah, every day. Because of our new contexts, maybe new insertion of certain data, different experiences. If you feel like you're somebody who likes to actually get different perspectives of things and understand all of that and get that, yeah, then of course you're learning, yeah. And of course we will learn also with AI, yeah, because there is no going back, actually. This is the other issue. Yeah, if people think, oh no, we can stop this, no, we can't. So,
I mean,
Seamus,
it comes back to me. Yeah, I mean, say about like AI is superficial. It's the depth of intelligence, and I think that's what's coming back to me from the discussion, is that when we put it in context around machine processing versus human processing, I think you just mentioned there a few minutes ago, there's no comparison basically. So I think that can maybe dissuade some of the fear people have that machine learning, despite all this modern high-powered computer processing and the amount of data that can be processed, it's still in minuscule terms compared to what a human has the ability to process, with the much more depth of creativity and knowledge and the ability to feel and learn and expand and grow and interpret and be discerning. So that for me maybe is a way of maybe dispelling some of the fear, is actually, what machines have a great ability to process information, but it's at a very superficial level, maybe that external level, when you compare it to the deep human processing ability that we all have, that we may not necessarily be fully utilizing, but we all have the ability to extend and grow and develop, in parallel with the evolvement of AI. We have that ability and opportunity actually to maybe shift some of our attention now, let AI manage this superficial data processing side and open up our ability for humans to be able to develop their inner discerning side of the inner circuitry. So maybe that's the opportunity,
I love that the topic or the idea of learning. I had an interesting experience just earlier today. I was trying to use ChatGPT to help me write my bio because I need to update my bio for
Yeah.
for
And
an
did it work?
Well, no, but this is where the opportunity is. I mean, what I don't like about it so far is
Yeah.
that all the phrasing, and because I basically kind of just gave it a bunch of information about myself and said, okay, write me a bio. But all the phrasing was just too commonplace. It was too what I would read anywhere else out there, and I wasn't satisfied with that. But that's not where it stops. This using AI, and it speaks to human relations as well, especially even this conversation. It's about the interaction. So now I got to go back and figure out, okay, how do I challenge that and say, I don't like these aspects of it, and figure out how to put it in words, what I don't like, or what could be better, or what. And with ChatGPT particularly, right now you can be kind of messy with it. You don't have to be real articulate. You can just bounce, and it's smart enough to kind of get a sense of it and to spit something back out at you. And with the machine, it's not emotional, so you don't have to worry about hurting its feelings or just saying, oh, that's garbage. But if I say that's garbage and walk away, I don't learn anything. I don't gain. But there is hope. I could keep working with it there's something in the interaction that I think speaks to learning. I'm not sure exactly what it is, but just like with ChatGPT or anything else, I'm just stumbling with my words and throwing them out to you and hoping from this conversation it'll make a little bit more sense to me.
But
In a
you raise
way,
an
it's kind of
interesting.
like we're relating to this new form of technology. Yeah. It's kind of a relationship thing. Yeah. If you think of anything, yeah, even our bloody smartphone, right? You have a relationship with this bloody thing, and most of the times it actually takes you over because you allow it to. Seamus, our word. People don't turn off their notifications, they allow them gone. So when they're in a nice conversation with somebody and their phone goes bing, they go like that. So that's a bad relationship that you then have with your phone, because it has actually overtaken you and you haven't set the boundaries with it. That's the same with any kind of tool, if I use that word, right? Which AI would be, or let's say, like, for example, ChatGPT. Yeah. I think in terms of the learning process is you got to keep going now with ChatGPT. You got to make the next step. Yeah, you've tried this. Okay, go back, try then to rephrase your wording with them, with the ChatGPT, so that it maybe gives you something. And in that way, you're learning as well.
But it's interesting, what jumped out at me there as well is you described that through your interaction with ChatGPT was the feeling that you didn't need to be as sensitive with giving it feedback. It didn't need to be worried about how it was going to react. So that was an interesting actually insight into maybe, something I hadn't thought about before around, when you're interacting with a human, you're probably, part of you is thinking, well, how are they going to respond? And, you're thinking about their feelings. So you can have a very open and liberating feedback session with ChatGPT, because you're not going to hurt its feelings, So
Can I tell you
maybe-
something? I heard something today. I was blown away. I listened to a guy, he's from Silicon Valley. He has a little, I won't even plug him here, but he was talking about there's now a new sort of machine out there where you can actually learn to have conversations with like a manager. So for example, or with an employee, you have a situation where you have an employee who's not performing well. Yeah. And of course, if you're a new manager, they're kind of crucial discussions. They're very courageous. You have to be very, yeah. You can actually rent now this kind of AI avatar software where you have calls like this in a Zoom, and you see a person, which is an avatar, and they're playing the role of the employee who's not performing, and you can practice with them. And they've done results or tests on this about how people feel about that, and most of them said, "I feel actually easier to talk with an avatar because it's an avatar."
Yeah.
So again, this idea, I don't need to be sensitive, yeah, because it's a machine. I don't have to really worry about the impact, yeah, which is crazy, yeah. But those tools are coming as well, Seamus. So think about the coaching world there, right?
Yeah.
You can just
exactly.
coach with your avatar.
Yeah, but I can see the benefit and the downside, obviously, you know what I mean? So you're looking at the opportunity you just highlighted there, Drew, just what you shared. I mean, that is probably one positive, that application you could say is that, it opens up your ability to be able to actually, in that example you've used, be able to actually push back and, with freedom, with maybe in a way you wouldn't with the human that's completely open because you're not going to hurt them. So, I mean, yeah, I'm going to have to think about that. That's an interesting kind of thing you brought up today,
We're getting close to the end of our time. Let's go one more slide up there. And maybe even into our next conversation is just like, and I think this gets into it, is just like the concept of authenticity. Is it, if I were to write something with ChatGPT, how authentic is that? And even like if I'm interacting with ChatGPT or one of the other things out there, am I being authentic myself, or more if the emotions are taken out of it, maybe my true self comes out more, and it's a safe environment to let that happen. And then when I'm back interacting with humans, I need to, I know I still want to be 100% human, to use your term, but it's, I don't know, it's a tool. But anyway, I just wanted to throw that last little thought out there, and as we kind of wrap up here.
And it's back to being discerning, I think. It's back to that word discerning about showing up, depending on the situation. Maybe you need to be a little bit more sensitive when you're in those human discussions. And again, you can feel you let things go a little bit when you're actually engaging with the AI, So I think that maybe that's the word that's coming to me, is about you can show up differently depending on the situation, which is probably true in our human engagement in situations as well. But I think it takes it to another level when you can simply eliminate one aspect of being very careful in what you say, because you can almost say anything to AI. Once you're being truthful and coming at it from an authentic intent, like that word intentional space as well. I think that is an opportunity to develop how you engage with AI versus how you continue to engage with other humans. And back to that word discernment, about thinking and observing how you're showing up depending on the situation, which is probably an inherent human skill anyway.
Yeah, I think that's a really interesting point, Seamus, because I was just thinking, Drew, if you didn't have this AI ChatGPT thing to check your, let's say, phraseology of how you're wanting to say something, you would do it with another human being, maybe a marketing guy, whoever. But you'd have to be in relationship with that person, more sensitive and kind of, well, no, I didn't really like what you presented, but it was okay. It wasn't, GPT can just say, no, I didn't like it. Bam, change this, baba. It doesn't take offense. You know what I mean? It would be great, of course, if humans didn't take offense, but they do, at the moment. Maybe we change. Maybe we then, as Seamus says, become much more tuned to the relationships with humans then, and we understand that we need to really invest way more time and way more sensitivity, and we bring out much more of our emotional intelligence skills, yeah, or even maybe I would say our spiritual connection, different level of that circuitry than we do now. Because I think at the moment we rely way too much on this brain IQ thing for all different stuff because we have to. But if we use AI wisely, it could free up a whole part of our minds that we don't need to do for stupid stuff, if I say it to you like that.
Yeah, it allows us to observe, I think, and really see the context and see the broader perspective that we might get. I think it's saying the same thing you just said, Michael. Yeah, exactly. You know, to see and appreciate the perspective and the context and how we can shift that balance from out here to actually in here and let AI take care of this stuff, that process that and present it to us. And we use this thing in here to be able to actually, you know, interpret and make sense of it and, you know, understand it better, I guess, you know, and maybe that's the blend ultimately that we're looking at, you know.
Yeah, because imagine if we could use like the time that we have as a human being to educate and learn differently, like how we do today. Probably human beings could be able to speak then 15 languages normally. They would do other things with their brain to be able to converse with humans. They might even figure out how intuitively humans connect with each other, that you'll actually learn skills how to do that. Instead of it all be driven by, this is how your schooling is supposed to be an intelligent human. Yeah, just think about our education systems. They're producing us to be, yeah, intellectual beings, not emotional beings, and certainly not spiritual beings.
Food for
So on
thought.
that note, I'm done.
Well, maybe we could each, as we wrap it, just share a final takeaway. What do you leave with this? Seamus, do you want to start us off?
Well, just I suppose discernment. I mean, it's coming back again, and I'm finding that blend of how we integrate AI and capture the benefits of AI and integrate it into being, you know, apply it, I guess, in a way that serves us and our evolution as you know, 100% humans, and engage and allow us to engage and blend in. So we process and be able to actually make sense of the information that it integrates for us, to allow us humans to be able to process it in a way that serves, you know, serves ourselves and serves everyone around us. So I think it's that journey of finding a place that we can accept, welcome AI with that feedback loop in place through what we've just described today, maybe around making sure that we maintain the balance of how we apply that AI in the real world. I think that's really where I'm coming from right now, you know. Thanks for I've learned a lot. I've thought a lot actually through this conversation. So, but that's where it is right now for me.
Yeah. So
great.
I would just say, because I'm going to use the word circuits here, but I would say use the circuits of the AI power to free up our own brain circuits to be more human. Whatever that means.
Yeah. Thought I'm left with is, and I've heard you say this, something like this before, Michael, kind of the difference between being and doing, a human being and a human doing. Hopefully through all this, we can be better human beings, and maybe we can identify how the machines can help us with the doing, and enhance our being, but how we can have interactions where, okay, we need to act like machines right now and just kind of figure out how to accomplish this thing and kind of put emotions aside just for the moment and then come back to them, or use tools that, I don't know. So this has been a great conversation. I've appreciated with both of you. Guess we have to end it at some point and lead into next week. We hope to post this out on LinkedIn and in places and attract more people in here. We are 3 middle-aged white guys in different parts of the world, but we, you know, welcome diverse opinions and people in here because yeah. So anyway, I guess we will wrap it up with that. Get right into this, but you know, this is it for this week. That human versus human.
Thank you.
Sure.
I don't know how to stop recording. Let's see. I don't know how to stop the recording. Oh,